Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely Stream Deck. For more information about the Stream Deck, the link is in the description below.
And gentlemen, and welcome to the 10th round of the AOR Hype Energy Xbox One Oceania F1 League. Today, we're here in a surprisingly sunny Britain for the British Grand Prix, and of course, we're here at the home of British motorsport, the Silverstone circuit. So today's race, we have 26 laps ahead of us around this classic Formula 1 circuit, and of course, it is an such a classic circuit. It hosted the first ever Formula 1 Grand Prix all the way back in 1950 and has hosted the British Grand Prix more than 50 times since then. But that wasn't the first time it ever hosted the British Grand Prix in 1950. It actually did that 2 years prior in 1948, and of course got offered the first ever spot on the Formula 1 World Championship calendar in 1950, and there was a reported attendance of over 100,000 spectators at that 1948 race, which is absolutely crazy. And then you can say just confirming what I said about it joining the Formula 1 calendar in 1950 as the first ever race. Of course, the circuit has gone under a lot of changes since that race in 1950, but it is still an absolute classic track with so much character and so much history. A lot of the original layout still remains with a little bit of alterations, like the Maggotts and Beckett section has been turned from a left-hand, a right, and a left into this awesome 5-part S section, which is absolutely awesome. And next year, if Lewis Hamilton takes pole, he will set the new record for the most pole positions at his home Grand Prix. Currently tied with Ayrton Senna. He's taken 6 poles at the British Grand Prix, Senna 6 in Brazil. If he gets 7th, he sets the record. 3 tyres available to us this weekend, the hard, the medium, and the soft. Don't expect to see the hard. It's not very useful around here. It looks like it's going to be a soft, medium strategy with 1 pit stop. So the track records here in AOR set by Marcel Kiefer, a 1:26.1 for pole position. However, we expect that time to fall tonight, as here in Oceania, with our position in the world, we get the first crack at this on the new game. New cars, it is a little bit faster, and we expect it going a few tenths quicker than that, and possibly dipping down into the 1:25s. And here we go. Here is the circuit, 3.6 miles or 5.8 kilometers long, 18 turns, 3 DRS zones down the pit straight, down the Wellington straight, and of course down the Hangar straight into Stowe. And the last little chicane, the Vale chicane, is a great overtaking spot, as we see a little bit of battle from season 15 between Brzeziny and Sorensen. I probably butchered those names, but that is good enough. And I now believe we're going to go for a hot lap, driven by Wycombs and driven by commentated by Alf Flatchus.
Let's join PC Split 1 driver Wycombs as we go on a lap of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, coming across the start-finish line to begin our lap as we go over to the left-hand side before going to the flat-out turn 1 and turn 2 of Abbey and the Farm Curve. Braking just after the 100-metre board then for turn 3 at Village, then getting the car over to the right-hand side to open up the space for turn 4 of the loop. Then a tricky traction zone as we accelerate up through the gears. Turn 5 at Aintree Corner, and now we put the DRS on for the first time in this lap as we go down the Wellington Straight. Braking at the 50-metre board then as we go, sliding the car in to turn 6 at Brooklands, and then the late apex of turn 7, the long turn 7 of Luffield, using as much curb on the left-hand side as we accelerate through the slight right of turn 8 here at Woodcote, through the old pit straight when we have the old bridge layout, and then we go through the flat-out turn 9 of Cops Corner, not running too wide there out of the corner, and now going through the famous turns 10, 11 and 12 complex of Maggotts, Beckett, and Chapel Corner. And now we accelerate down, DRS for the second time as we go down the Hangar Straight underneath the game sign there. And now we prepare ourselves for turn 13 of Stowe, a long corner, making sure we get a nice apex there and not running too wide once again on that curb on the left-hand side. And now we brake in between the 150-metre boards for turn 14 of Vale. And now we come through turn 15, Club Corner for the final time. And that completes a lap of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit.
this season so far. We've had 9 races so far, almost at the halfway point of the season. And here are the championship standings just coming up on your screen right now. The Williams of Greekmaster 99 leads the championship with 178 points, 31 points over our reigning champion, New Zealand Ryan, of course, in that Ferrari. And you can just see all the results from the 9 races so far, and you can just see why Greekmaster is leading this championship right now. He's finished on the podium in every race so far, except for the French Grand Prix, where he only missed out by 1 place, finishing there in 4th place. Then we have a close battle for 3rd between Jared, Ho, and it's just gone off my screen. I missed the end of that, unfortunately. And here we just have a few more stats. You can see, just speaking about Greekmaster again, 9 races started, 9 races finished, perfect reliability through the season. He's got 4 wins, 3 poles, and his average finishing position is 2nd place. 2.9 is where Ryan's average finishing place is, and he's 2nd in the championship. You can see there's a little bit of a difference there, and like I said, 8 out of 9 podiums is an amazing record there for Greekmaster 99. He's going to be hoping to continue that and make it 9 out of 10 podiums here at the British Grand Prix. Also, just looking down the order, I know a lot of people are a big fan of Tiamat Marduk. You can see he's only started 6 races, finished 4 of them. Of course, he missed 3 due to going over to Europe, and he's hoping to get his season back on track here in Silverstone. Not too sure if this is a track he does like or not, but I've seen some videos on Twitter that he has definitely been practicing hard with New Zealand Ryan. So expect the Ferrari boys to come out strong here in Silverstone. And now we get to see the constructors' standings. Ferrari, who we were just speaking about, are sitting there in 2nd place, but they are a long way off 1st place, which is Williams. They are dominating the season. 273 points to their name already. 86 points more than Ferrari. That said, if Ferrari had 2 drivers for all the races, they could be a little bit higher up. And now, I think we are ready to go qualifying. So, you join us in qualifying. Sunny, like I did say earlier, surprising for the UK, and we have just over 10 minutes left in this session. Most of the drivers have gone out and set their banker times. It looks like New Zealand Ryan is currently at the top with a 1:26.1. It's really hard to read the purple against the blue sky there, with Jared and Tiamat Marduk just behind him on 26.2s and 3s respectively. Greekmaster there with his Williams partner in 4th and 5th with a 26.4 and a 26.5. There is still definitely a bit of time to find, don't you think, Matt? As this track does rub in, I expect to see them drop down into the 25s.
Yeah, the track will definitely evolve throughout the entirety of this session. We'll see most likely the quickest times coming in with sort of 2-3 minutes to go. I'll be surprised if we didn't see anyone sneak into the 25s there. You know, Ryan is less than 2 tenths away from that anyway at this point of the session, so he's done a fantastic job in the early stages. And, you know, this is the point now where he really needs to try and start closing in that gap to his main championship rival here, even I should say, Greekmaster. You know, that gap 31 points now. He can't afford to let that get much bigger with, well, I say not too many rounds to go. We're near enough at the halfway point of the season, as you said, and this is now where he really, if he wants to try and defend that title once again, he needs to start bringing the points back in now, because it is quite clear that Greekmaster, if no one forces him into an error, and he just won't lose that many points. You know, as you said, he's only finished off the podium once. He's proven it isn't impossible to not beat him, but you have to really work hard to make sure that you gain those points over him.
Yeah, could New Zealand Ryan finally lose his crown? Of course, this is the 3rd season of AOR here in Oceania, and Ryan has taken both championships so far. Greekmaster, he did commentate a little bit last season, I do believe, before switching back to racing halfway through that season. He's had a fair bit of league racing experience before that, and he's just recently adapted to the wheel. And with a new game, he has come out very strong, and he's probably one of the closest, the closest rival we have seen to New Zealand Ryan over the 3 seasons we've had here in Oceania AOR. And it's really exciting to see finally someone can properly take the gauntlet to New Zealand Ryan, challenge him for that championship. And right now, Greek is doing an amazing job. 31 points ahead, 9 races in, 11 races to go. Not quite at the halfway point of the season yet. But it's going to be interesting to see what Ryan can do, because Greekmaster, he has been super consistent. If he can keep that consistency up, I don't think there's any way Ryan is going to be able to catch him.
Yeah, I just saw a message in chat who won last year in this race, and I can remember that one. That was probably the best race I think we had all season, the titanic battle between Tiamat Marduk and Ho, going right the way down to the wire, and Tiamat Marduk would actually come through for that race victory. I think he overtook him going into the final lap of that race. So we can hope that we end up with just as a dramatic race this time around as well. Obviously, we'd love to see battles go right down to the wire. And it's safe to say so far this season, we have definitely seen a couple of those as well. It's been a very, very intriguing season so far there, as Fens actually now jumps up into provisional pole position just 5 thousandths quicker than New Zealand Ryan with 7.5 minutes to go of qualifying. A very good lap by the Williams man of 1 minute 26.187. Having a little bit of look further down the order, we've got a little bit of a gap between Hcho and Quicksilver there. Hcho on a 1 minute 26.5, and then Quicksilver and Press PC both on 27 zeros. So a little bit of a gap there, and then further down the order, obviously, as people have either ran like very, very low speed laps and, you know, banker laps and things like that, we're dropping down, you know, to the 28s and things like that. But I'm sure, obviously, all those times will drop. Massive Zerk is already out of this session. Not too sure what has happened to him, but Neon Trido is still the only man yet to set a lap.
Not too sure what's happened to Warden on his only lap so far. Almost a minute slower than the pace we should be expecting here in Silverstone. That is taking a banker lap to the extreme, being that slow. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this session does unfold for the next 6.5 minutes. Like I said, everyone's just saying bankers at the moment, waiting for this track to rubber in, and how much faster can they go? Has Fen's gone a bit? Oh, we just see Greek jump into the 125s. That is what I was expecting to see in this qualifying session. It's actually happened a bit earlier than perhaps I expected, so maybe we're going to see the times fall even possibly to a mid-25 by the end of this session, considering Greek sitting into a 25.9 on what I would assume is still roughly a banker lap. I wouldn't think you'd be pushing that hard with 6 minutes left in the session, knowing that the track's going to continue to rubber in.
Yeah, I think there'll definitely be a few more tenths to find on that lap, but I can't imagine, you know, that's probably only 2, 3, potentially 4 tenths off what maximum time you can probably get, obviously depending on you know, what fuel mode and things he was running on that lap as well. But yeah, he's 2 tenths clear now of his teammate Fens, which is obviously quite a comfortable little gap, you know, just to have in the pocket, ready for the final 5 minutes, where obviously we'll see most of the drivers come out. I think New Zealand Ryan is either, well, he's not on a lap currently, unless he's weaving down the straight. Not too sure what that would be all be about, but unfortunately, no, he's diving it back down into the pit lane. Tim Marduk, is he on a run coming down in towards the final couple of corners? I think he might be about to start one. Let's go aboard then with Ben. Let's have a quick look actually on the telemetry. Yes, he is. He's just about going on to a run. Hopefully, we'll ride along on board with him then around a lap of this Silverstone circuit. That's a bit wide through turn 1 and 2. That might be the lap gone. It doesn't appear so. He seems to still be pushing. Misses the apex through turn 2. And yeah, I think, has he bailed out? I'm not too sure if he's even bailed out of that one. It's all gone a little bit messy through there, but I think he's continuing on with it. Short shifting back up through the gears. He's only running 3 ERS modes, so maybe, you know, he's saving a little bit of potential pace in the car as well here as he comes down through in towards sector 2 here through Brooklands and Luffield. And yeah, this lap is definitely not a flying one anymore. There are a couple of mistakes on that run, unfortunate for him. But yeah, now it's one of those weird sort of 1.5 minute windows in qualifying that we seem to find where we wait and we wait for everyone to come back out for their final runs. You know, everyone, like, they may alter the front wing angle by 1, try to take a little bit of extra downforce off the car, so they can be a bit, you know, have a little bit more down the straights and try to really hang on in there through the corners. Obviously, Silverstone, a very, very high speed circuit as well. Obviously, I think it did have the highest average lap speed at one point, obviously 162 miles an hour, wasn't it? Keke Rosberg's world record lap, if I'm not mistaken, many, many years ago now. But yeah, currently still, though, Greek Master on top, but most drivers in the pit lane, and I think we're getting ready now for the final surge in this qualifying session.
So yeah, heading into this little lull in this qualifying session while everyone gets ready for the final lap is a good chance to talk about the strategy. So for you guys that have been tuning into every race this season, there's been a lot of talk about strategy going into the qualifying sessions, but I don't think this is going to be one of those races. Of course, we have the 3 tyres available, the soft, medium, and the hard. Now, as you can see, everyone's out there on softs, and I'm fairly confident everyone is going to qualify on the soft tyre. The softest compound, of course, that we do have. It seems from talking to drivers, it's a pretty clear-cut strategy. One stop, you start on the softs we qualified on, probably 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 laps into the race, you switch onto the mediums, and then you go to the end. And I guess if you qualify outside the top 10, which is going to happen for 5 of the drivers, you can reverse that around. As it looks like we do have one car on track, and that is Rain in the Sauber, trying to, I guess, take advantage of the track being quiet, making sure he doesn't get involved in any traffic. But that does mean he's just leaving a little bit of time on the table by not waiting until the optimum track conditions. We'll have to wait and see how this lap does come along for Rain. We haven't seen him much this season. I do believe he might be a reserve. I think last round was the first time I saw him, at least. I did miss a couple rounds before that, but he definitely wasn't here when the season did start. And is now out onto the hangar straight, of course. This is a great overtaking opportunity up into Stowe. The DRS flap is open, of course. Last season, this is where we saw Team at Marduk get past Master Berserk on the penultimate lap of the race. He just shoved it up the inside, a race-winning move, and then down into the Vale chicane to end the lap. And they're about to come out through the double right-hander. It's quite tricky through here, trying to balance the throttle, make sure the back end doesn't snap away from you, and across the line, Rain jumps up to P7 with a 126.6.
Yeah, very good lap by Rain there to obviously sneak himself up into that little window between HO and Dropbad there. He might potentially be able to stay out, you know, if he saves the ERS on this lap, he might therefore be able to go out for another rumble. I'm not too sure. I think he's just getting out of the way of other cars there. But yeah, now we've got about 1 minute 45 to go of the session. Just look in the pit lane. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars all coming out in a huge train there. Both Mercedes, both Ferraris, a little Williams there sneaking in between, as well as I think one more car was in that little group. So yeah, everyone is now coming out. You can see on the standings, everyone just next to their time is on an out lap currently. So really excited. I think we got HO is going to be one of the first drivers to actually start on his final flying lap here. He started with 1 minute 20 on the clock, so he won't be able to get round to have another go here in this session. Hopefully, obviously, he doesn't, well, he shouldn't have to deal with any traffic, because obviously he'll be finishing this lap behind, well, after the timer has hit 0 here. So this is his final chance to try and improve up the order. He's got just under a 2/10 gap to Tim Marduk just in front of him. Weirdly, he's running 4 ERS mode. I know that's useful in 7th and 8th gear here, but throughout the rest of the lap, it's not really that useful whatsoever. It pretty much acts like the 3 option as well. So yeah, not too sure what little strategy this is by HO here as he comes out on to the old pit straight here. I just about remember when Formula 1 cars used to start coming down in towards the old turn 1 now. And yeah, back up now into 7th and 8th gear. He'll have a little bit extra down the straight, as I said, in sort of 7th and 8th, but apart from that, in the lower gears, he's actually just costed himself a little bit of time here as he comes in through down the last hangar straight here with the ERS and the DRS once again engaged. Is he going to be able to improve as he comes down
caught up in traffic
towards Stowe? Is he going to get caught up in traffic here? Is he? Can't see any on my screen.
Masters just coming through the last chicane. He's been backing it up. He's been jostling with New Zealand Ryan. He just gets his lap start with 3 seconds. Just finish off the lap you're commentating.
Yeah, HO therefore through the final corner. Luckily, he doesn't get held up by any traffic. Over the line, he does improve a 126.463, but unfortunately, he is not going to move up any more positions there. And Fens is now out of the session. Are we sure what's happened there? That seems very strange.
I'm not too sure what's happened to Fens there, but this is going to be a very fascinating last lap here. The last 3 cars across the line to start their lap were Team at Marduk, New Zealand Ryan, and Greek Master 99, the last car to start his flying lap. And it looks like Jared is in that sort of area of the circuit as well. It looks like Ben could almost be in a distance to get a little bit of a toe off Jared, but maybe pick up a little bit of dirty air. Not too sure, as it looks like we had Prez BC retiring from the session. This is going to be very interesting. A lot of cars very close on the circuit. Warden has jumped all the way up to a 126.0 to get into second place as Jared has bailed on his lap. And now we're going to watch Team at Marduk. He is coming up to Stowe now. How is his lap going? Not too sure. I don't have any splits on his time, unfortunately, as he only has 3 corners left to navigate on this Silverstone circuit. A little bit of a lockup on the front left now through the final corner. What can he do? Flat out through the final corner, and he jumps up to 3rd with a 126.0 as New Zealand Ryan does a 125.6, and he takes provisional pole. But what can Greek do? He cannot match it. He sets a 125.9. Not too sure that he improved on that lap, and Ryan takes pole by 0.3 of a second here at Silverstone.
Yeah, fantastic lap there, right when the pressure had, right at the very end there of the session, the pressure right at the very maximum there, and he's managed to get the lap in. A fantastic job by Ryan there. 1 minute 25.671, a very, very good lap, and 3/10 clear of Greek Master. He did improve right at the very end there, but by milliseconds, so unfortunate for Greek, but that could leave us with a very, very interesting battle as we move into this race.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting to see how it does play out. We have the lead two in the championship starting on the front row of the grid. However, they're in reverse order to how they are in the championship. Greek leads the championship, but Ryan takes pole position for the 10th round of the season. How is that going to play out across the season? And we have Warden in there as well for the first time in quite a while. He's dropped off the pace since we've lost line coming into this season number 3, but he seems to have found that pace again here at Silverstone. And then Ryan has his teammate Tiamat Marduk there to play with in 4th. Then it is Greek Master teammate Fens in 5th. Jared, Ho, Rain, that laggy person, and Drop Bear round out the top 10. And free choice of tyres go to Quicksilver, Prez BC, Roscoe Arm, Master Berserk, and Neon Tridome, who did not set a time as he was serving a qualifying ban for an incident with Rain, I believe, in the Austrian Grand Prix last weekend.
It all makes sense now then. But yeah, it's intriguing to see because Ryan, he needs to win this race because currently Greek Master has that golden 25-point margin at the moment. So if anything goes wrong for him, he knows that he can still lead the championship. If Ryan wins this one though, it goes back under that 25 and he's only got a 24-point lead as we move into the second half of the season. So it's very, very critical for Ryan here, both just for raw points and psychologically, that he wins this race.
Yeah, with Greek Master's consistency as well this season, he's finished every race, a worst finishing position of 4th, and he's finished on the podium 8 out of 9 times. With that consistency, Ryan needs to take points out of Greek Master at every opportunity. If he finishes 2nd and Greek finishes 3rd, that's another 3 points. He just needs to keep chewing into that margin every single weekend. It doesn't look like Greek... Well, so far, he hasn't come unstuck at all. He's kept it clean. He's always been at the point end of the field and always getting a good hurl of points. So Ryan can't... I don't think he can rely on misfortune for Greek. He really needs to work hard and make sure he's always just in front of Greek on the circuit as the drivers head off for their formation lap here at Silverstone. A chance to warm up the tyres, warm up the brakes, and get the car ready to go for this race. Get the car into the working temperature range. And I believe there should be a graphic on your screen looking at the tyre strategy for today's race. It looks like it's going to be a fairly simple one. We touched this in qualifying. Pretty much everyone's starting on the soft tyre, at least in the top 10. They're going to be pitting somewhere between lap 7 and 9, switching to the mediums, then going to the end for the 26th lap British Grand Prix. And we could be seeing a reverse of that. I just need to get the graphics up on my screen to see what people at the back of the field are running.
Mediums.
So the bottom 4 all on mediums, Quicksilver elected for the softs. So the bottom 4 on the medium tyres, we expect them to pit probably lap 16 to 18. They're going to go into the softs, be really quick at the end of the race. So here we go. Last season, this race was an absolute cracker, and last weekend we had an amazing race in Austria. It's a very competitive field at a track where you can really race hard. I'm expecting to see a great race today. I'm hoping to see a great race. Ryan and Greek at the front of the field, championship rivals. Warden getting a bit of a taste, being back at the front of the field for the first time this season, and Tiamat Marduk there as well. He wants to get his season back on track after missing a few rounds going away. This is going to be fascinating.
It certainly is. Make sure in the comments of the stream, in the live chat, you leave us your predictions of who you think is going to win this race as well. Here we've arguably got 7 cars, even if you count Ho, within a shot of winning this race. Everyone so far has a potentially proven pace either through this session or in previous weeks. But yeah, it is certainly going to be hopefully a crazy race here once again in Silverstone. It's looking a little bit overcast. I'm not too sure if we are going to get any rain in this race either or. Britain, you know, for the people that live here, we're well aware of the very changeable conditions just generally as well. But yeah, I think we are ready then on the grid for the British Grand Prix.
Yes, most of the cars have slotted into their grid positions now. We're just waiting for the final car, and here we go. The lights are coming on before the drivers. When they go out, we go racing. We have 5 red lights. And it's lights out, and away we go, and that laggy person has a drive-through penalty for a jump start as New Zealand Ryan gets a great start off pole position as Warden is challenging Greek. He goes around his outside down into turn number 1, so we have Renault off the circuit as well as another car. I didn't quite catch it, is now down into turn number 3. It looks like Ben is challenging Greek Master around the outside. Now he gets the inside into the loop. A great move there from Team Marduk, and can Jared possibly follow through on Greek Master? Almost there as we head out onto the Wellington straight. The Mercedes getting into the slipstream of the Williams. What can he do as we head down towards Brooklands? The Mercedes jinks to the inside. Looks like there's almost a little bit of contact. The Williams goes a little bit wide, but gets the inside line. Now through Luffield, and the Mercedes just has to back out around the outside as New Zealand Ryan continues to lead as we head onto the old pit straight. A great start there from Warden and Tia Marduk, both upper places. Jared continues to harass Greek Master, who's dropped 2 places.
Yeah, and actually HO as well picked up a jump start there. I don't think genuinely I've ever seen a jump start in AOR Oceania, but yeah, 2 of them have picked up one off the start of this race. The HO and that laggy person both will have drive-thrus in the start of this race. But yeah, Greek Master, one of the big losers off the start there, but he's already attacking Team Marnik once again there. He got held up behind Warden just a little bit, coming down out onto the hanging straight. They're almost 3 wide as Jared tries to go between them. Contact between Greek and Team Marnik just shoves him out wide on the exit of the corner there. That'll move Jared up into P4. He's going to try and hassle around the outside of Greek through the final chicane. Is he going to be able to make it work there? I think he might be able to here as he squeezes Greek out onto the curbs on the exit. They're still side by side through the final corner. Oh, there's been contact.
Oh, there's a spin.
Greek Master's in the wall. You said about how you can't rely on him having bad luck, but it is exactly what has happened here in the British Grand Prix. Once again, just the hit detection between the rear wing and the front wing of the car behind has played havoc here. Greek Master in the wall. I think he's lost half his front wing. He's down to P13, only ahead of the 2 with the jump start there. And that has not been the start to the race that Greek Master wanted. There's very little Jared can do about that one as well, because you can easily be, a good sort of half a car length behind the car in front, and it can still cause the damage there. So yeah, not ideal for Greek Master off the start of this race, but I think since then it has settled down for basically everyone else here. Ryan has got a 2-second lead already over Warden there. Jared another 1.5 back, and then Team Marduk, Fens and Rain all very, very close together on the track as well.
Yeah, hectic first lap. Championship leader in the wall while his main championship rival leads the race. Drama here in the opening phase of this British Grand Prix. That said, we saw Ryan get caught up in an incident all the way back in the Australian Grand Prix. He managed to fight back. I believe he got into the top 5. So it's still there's still a chance for Greek Master to get a decent amount of points with Ryan leading the race. 1.9 seconds. He's definitely going to lose a bit of a chunk of his lead, I do believe. But he has worked hard, build up a nice chunky lead, 31 points, but it could drop in under 1 race victory now as Team Marduk continues to look at the back of Jared there over 3rd position. What can Team Marduk do as we head on to the 3rd lap of this race as Ryan continues to pull out that lead now to 2.1 seconds.
Yeah, and I think if I recall correctly, this race was Ryan's worst last season as well. So clearly Silverstone is not kind to championship leaders so far. And well, 2 seasons in a row, the championship leader has not had the best of luck here. But there's still 23 laps to go of this race. We could easily see a safety car come out. But yeah, Greek is into the pit lane, onto those hard compound tyres. So it's going to be interesting to see how they fare in this race, because I'm pretty certain Silverstone is the only track on the calendar we see them, and even then it's not really a preferred strategy if everything runs simply. But yeah, we got Quicksilver, Greek and Roscoe Arm all onto a set of those hard tyres. So they're going to try and take them through, probably right the way through to the end of this race. But yeah, Jared now is starting to form a little bit of a train. Tim Marduk, Fens and, well, Rain a little bit further back, but still closing up ever so slightly here. So maybe Jared might end up being the cork in the bottle in this situation here. But yeah, he's still holding on to P3 at the moment, and he needs to hold on for dear life here, because he's got Tim Marduk and Fens all over the back of him. And now Fens needs to fly the flag for Williams at this stage of the race. They're going to lose a huge amount of points to Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship, but obviously more importantly for Greek Master at this stage, he's going to lose a huge amount of points to Ryan, who has already now built himself up a 2.5 second lead. And this is the Ryan of old. It's like looking back at F1 2017, Ryan in the lead, pulling away at the front, Warden up in P2 doing well as well here. So I don't know when exactly we hopped back 12 months, but yeah, it's certainly going to be exciting to see. Laggy person now into the pit lane here, I'm pretty certain, for his drive-through penalty as well. So not a good start to the Grand Prix for Haas there. Both drivers have already had to come through the pit lane here, and it's only lap 4.
Yeah, it's been a little while since we've seen this sort of race where Ryan's out the front, Warden in second, like you did say. We haven't seen this on the new game, but Warden seems to have upped his pace. Of course, he was a championship competitor last season on F1 2017, but heading into this season, we banned the racing line, so there's now absolutely no assists in this division. That cost him a little bit of time while he's getting used to having to pick out his own braking points, turning points, and all that, but with a bit of time, he seems to be getting used to that, and the Warden of old seems to be back. His pace has picked up slowly throughout the season, and now we see him battling with the likes of Jared and Timo Marduk, two of the quickest guys you do have in this league. And what can Jared do? He's catching up to Warden a little bit now. We have a bit of a four-way battle. The gap between all four of these cars is half a second, and half a second. Is out onto the hangar straight we go. Lap 4, the DRS flaps are open for everyone but Warden. Jared is closing up into Stowe, but just not close enough. No one quite close enough to make a move in this early phase of the race.
Yeah, but it is certainly all starting to bottle up here, and this is, well, once again working absolutely fantastically for Ryan. He's pulled out another 0.7 of a second on that lap here, so doing absolutely everything he needs to at the front. But do we think Warden is going to try and defend this position? Do we think he wants to take up as many points as he possibly can? So far this season, he doesn't really have all too much to lose. He's currently down in P9 overall in the championship, so it's clearly not gone as well as he would have liked here. He's on currently 37 points here, even after a good couple of rounds recently. But yeah, do we think Warden's going to try and defend, or do we think he's just going to sort of let these guys through and take home a safe, good haul of points?
I think he's going to race hard. He wants a big haul of points. He wants to race hard. It's the first time he's been this far up the field in a while. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get his elbows out just a little bit. That said, he's good friends with Ryan and Jared and Timo Marduk. All four of them are probably in a party right now talking, so there could be a little bit of strategy going on between the four. Not too sure how the dynamics between those four work, especially during the race. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see as Jared, down to 2.5 back off Warden through Maggots and Beckers. Can he get a good exit out of Chapel onto the hangar straight? DRS flap open in the back of that Mercedes, in the slipstream of the Force India, of course, punching a nice hole in the air, and you can see the speed Jared gains from that up the inside of Stowe. A little bit of contact. He went very, very wide, missed the apex, and left Warden with nowhere to go, who's out on the runoff area, and Timo Marduk is sitting in right in behind them, trying to capitalize. He looks to the outside of Jared, but there's nothing doing there for the Ferrari driver, and Warden holds on to that position, but Jared still right on the back of that Force India, but Warden actually got the DRS there behind at the detection point despite being in front on the straight.
Yeah, and I think actually Jared locked up as they came down in towards Stowe, and that's why he ran wide in to Warden's line there. But Warden's man deep going in through turn 4 there, but he is able to hold on to the place. But is Jared once again going to be able to run down up the inside here in towards Brooklands here, down the back straight in towards the back, braking at the 75-meter board there. He moves up the inside. Warden, though, swings it around the outside, bails out of it just a little bit through the hairpin, but Jared has given him the room on the inside. But Jared right the way around the outside. I think Ben might be able to get around the outside of him as well here. So Warden not having a particularly good run there. He's lost 2 places inside the space of 2 corners here. Not too sure what that was all about. Maybe he's used up far too much of his ERS. Let's try and have a look actually on the Delta. No, he's still got about 40% in the car there, so not too sure what that was all about by Warden. But yeah, he drops down now to P4. He's now got Fens just behind him as well here. I'm not too sure if these guys will be in a party, because generally I think the Williams tend to just stick together in their own party. But Fens now trying to look around the outside. Timo Marduk's trying to look at the inside of, around the outside of Jared there, just up the road. Ben's can't make it work. Neither can Ben, so everyone holds on, and Ben almost pretends to go into the pit lane. Not too sure what that was all about. I can't imagine anyone was thinking he's going to do that this early in the race. But yeah, now look at this. Rain is also starting to catch up to this train of cars as well here, and Ryan near enough a 5-second lead as well.
Yeah, these guys are squabbling hard, and this is just allowing Ryan to run away in the lead. It's working perfectly for the Ferrari driver. 4.4 seconds up the road, but this 4-way battle over the last 2 podium positions is really hotting up. Warden lost 2 positions, got pushed out a little bit wide at Brooklands there with a nice move from Jared. Can Timo Marduk try to recreate Jared's move on the next lap on the Mercedes? Not quite close enough down the Wellington straight with that DRS flap open, and now he's going to try to tuck in behind the Mercedes. I think I saw Quicksilver in the Renault. Something must have happened to him, because he's only a couple seconds up the road from these guys, and they could get involved with a little bit of traffic just to spice this battle up a little bit more, as through Copse we now go. That Ferrari is really in behind. The Mercedes' warning goes very, very wide. Through Copse areas into Maggots and Beckett's, trying to get a good run through here. You really want to line up a late apex out through Chapel to get the best run onto that hangar straight. It looks like Ben hasn't had the best run, dropped a little bit of a ways back, but he does get the DRS. He's on his ERS in only number 3, but he has got the slipstream down to 2 actually. He doesn't feel he's close enough, and he's not going to put a move up the inside of that Mercedes, but he's still lurking big in Jared's mirrors as he jinks to the pit lane again, but elects not to go, trying to catch someone like Warden or Fens behind him out, as Fens actually does dive into the pit lane, lap number 7, end of lap 7, which is when the pit window theoretically is meant to open.
Yeah, so I'm not too sure that if Ben has managed to somehow fake into the pit lane and he's got Fens there, I'd be a bit surprised if that was the case. But yeah, Ben still up in P3, Warden trying to hang on with these guys at the moment. Talking about Quicksilver just a moment ago, I actually went on board with him. He decided to go onto the hards and then pit 2 laps later back onto the medium, so clearly he didn't fancy him. He didn't have any front wing damage or anything like that, so yeah, he made 2 pit stops out of 1, so yeah, not too sure what is going on that one. And well, it looks like at the moment 35 seconds behind absolutely anyone. You can see laggy person as well, 44 seconds off Fens there, who comes out of the pit lane in P11. Maybe he's trying to go for a bit of an undercut on these 3 guys in front of him here. But yeah, Ben and Jared and Warden all still fighting at this stage of the race. So this could actually be a little bit of a masterstroke by Fens if he can make it work. He's got about a 7-second gap to H-Show in front, so he's certainly got a little bit of, a little bit of space to work into here. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where he comes out. But yeah, Ben all over the back of Jared now as they come on to the hangar straight once more. He's up in 4 ERS mode. He is certainly going to try and go for it this time around. Jared gives him the room on the inside. I think he's effectively given up on this move. He might try and get the switch back out of the final corner. Leaves it in 0 ERS mode there, and he will drop down to P3. And a Ferrari 1-2, we don't think we've ever, well, he's never finished that way so far this season is, so maybe it could be a historic day for Ferrari once more. Their drop bear now picks himself up a 3-second time penalty, and now Warden is all over the back of Jared now as well, so maybe he's able to try and pile on the pressure as the gap at the top is starting to come down just a little bit. I think Ryan, yeah, he's used up a huge amount of his ERS here, so he's trying to save it just a little bit more. As soon as I say that, he brings it back up into hot lap mode, so clearly he's not too worried on it just yet, but he's certainly still trying to have to monitor that. He's built up that huge gap off the start. Obviously, undoubtedly, he was pushing for that gap as well here. But yeah, he's doing a fantastic job so far, but that gap is slowly starting to creep down once more.
I'm surprised no one actually reacted to Fens pitting on that previous lap. They've stayed out for another lap. So now Fens has a 2-lap undercut on these 3 battling for those last 2 podium positions. Of course, he was just in behind Warden. He now has fresh tyres, albeit a harder compound tyres, but nice and fresh. A nice 6-second pocket of fresh air just in front of him while these guys are battling. This could work perfectly for Fens. Get a perfect undercut, 2 laps, possibly jump all 3 of these guys. We're just going to have to wait and see, but there is a bit of a payoff for that, as he is going to be on slightly older tyres for the rest of this race, as Jared is looking at Tim Marduk up into Stowe. But I think Ben had a bit of DRS off the Renault of Quicksilver just in front, and there goes the Mercedes into the pit lane. Jared very late, as our race leader New Zealand Ryan has also come into the pits. I expect Ryan to get out into a decent pocket of air a bit ahead of Fens, but Jared is the one to watch. What has Fens managed to do with a 2-lap undercut over the Mercedes? Is he going to get this position or not? We're just going to have to wait and see. It looks like Jared is in his pit box. Fens just coming through Stowe now. But that said, Silverstone's probably the longest pit lane on the entire calendar.
Yeah, Mercedes actually opted to double stack there. Both DRC Jared and Drop there coming in, but Fens, I was staying on board with him managing the interval. He'd actually taken about 7/8 of a second out of them on that lap alone, but obviously I'm not too sure what the gap was originally, so he's certainly been a bit quicker here, but I don't think he's done it. No, he hasn't. He's actually come out a little bit further behind Jared by the looks of it there. He's still quite close though, so he certainly could be right on the back of him here. But yeah, Ben now is having to try and push as well, build up that margin, and now once more he's getting held up a little bit by Quicksilver here. There's Greekmaster, fastest lap of the race on that set of the hard compound tyres there. A very good lap by him. But yeah, let's hope Quicksilver does move out of the way nice and quickly here. I'm sure the blue flags will be out, and he really, through the high-speed downforce areas of the track like that, he probably should be thinking about getting out of the way nice and soon as well. There he goes. Yeah, fantastic placement by him there. And now, obviously, Ben has got the clear air once more. Is he going to dive it into the pit lane on the end of this lap? He's tried to pretend that he's gone in many times before. This time he comes in properly. And, yeah, he will dive it into the pit lane as well as Warden there. They both get the car slowed down quite nicely. Rain as well into the pit lane. I think Mouse Berserk is therefore going to move up into the lead of this race here. Obviously, the first on the medium compound tyres. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where all of these guys now come out relative to Jared, Ryan, and everyone else that's obviously already made their pit stops here. Greekmaster, with that crash, though, and obviously already making that pit stop, is now 20 seconds back from, you know, rivals like Jared, 25 behind Ryan here. So unless we get a safety car or something like that, it is not looking like a particularly good race for Greek still.
Sorry, I just got distracted a little bit while you were talking there. It looked like there was a bit of a glitch with Warden's pit stop. Maybe it was just on my screen, but he seems to have gotten out okay, and it's very close between Tim and Marduk and Jared. And Jared, unlike Fens, actually makes the undercut work and jumps back ahead of that Ferrari into what is currently 6th place, but we see it as probably a net 2nd place in this race. He's got slightly fresh tyres, but can Ben do something while Jared is trying to get those tyres up to temperature? And what about Fens as well? He's right in behind Tim at Marduk. He's 3 laps older tyres, but he has them nice and warmed up. And apologies, Jared, of course, is on the fresh Tim at Marduk's on the fresh tyres. I completely butchered that. I do apologise. Ben's the one on the cold tyres who's going to be struggling, and Fens is the one trying to take advantage of that on his nice and warm medium tyres. He's had 3 laps on so far, taking a little bit of life out of them, but they are the medium compound. They should go the distance in this race. He's going to try and stay nice and close through Maggots and Beckett's and Chapley's, definitely within DRS range. I expect to see him turn his ERS up. He's got 75% battery, and he's going to have the DRS to his advantage, open that flap in the rear wing, get in the slipstream, but he's, he went down to 1 momentarily on the ERS. He's not pushing that hard, and surprisingly, he's not actually trying a move there. I would have thought into overtake mode, he could have got up the inside of that Ferrari quite easily there, but he's electing to sit in behind him at Marduk right now.
Yeah, and it's obviously quite strange to see, obviously, with the new ERS modes that we have been granted access to in F1 2018, we do actually see a lot of drivers now. If they're within half a second onto the straight, they will absolutely go for it. Otherwise, they'll just use the slipstream and not use the ERS and save it for a better time here. But now Jared is all over the back of Ho here. Ho obviously doesn't have to get out of the way, but he's certainly taken those bit soft tyres very, very far in this race. The only man currently on track on that set of the soft tyres. It's going to be interesting to see if he tries to defend this position. He's not really in a race with these guys at the moment. Jared goes up the inside through the next corner there, and he does slam the door shut on Ho there, and now move himself up back into P5 of this race. And then the next car up the road will be New Zealand Ryan. A battle though for P2 currently on track. Press PC and Neon Tridome as well, currently very, very close on the circuit. Going to be interesting to see, is Press, he's certainly going to try and go for the run down the straight here. Not often we get to see battles a little bit further down the field, but no, he bails out of it, and that might be why we don't see them as often as we would have liked them. And actually, speaking of that, Neon Tridome runs a little bit wide through the corner. Press might be able to have a look around the outside in towards the final chicane. It'd be a fantastic move if he does. He makes it work there. Fantastic job by the Sauberman, and he moves himself up now into P2 of this race. Ben now moves his way past Ho as well here. So Ho, yeah, he's probably going to dive into the pit lane on the end of this lap. Thank you very much. He doesn't make me look all too silly in that situation there. And yeah, Ho, the final man now onto a set of those medium tyres. Going to be interesting to see how well he's able to bring them back in the second half of this race.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what Ho is playing at with that strategy. He's almost gone to half race distance with a soft compound tyre, and I don't think that's going to give him a huge advantage with the mediums. Yes, he's not going to have to take them as long. And it looks like he also has a stop-go penalty possibly, or was that possibly lag, because now his car has just disappeared from the pit box. Not too sure what happened there. A little bit of lag in this lobby, unfortunately. It's not 100... Okay, something is going on weird on my end right now. I am stuck.
You're having a couple of issues.
Yes, I was continuing to watch the Red Bull mechanics leave the pit, walk back into the garage from the pit box, and I couldn't change the camera to go on board with Ho or see any other angle, but everything looks fine. Ho's back on track. I don't think he had a stop-go, and his race will resume from 12th place, actually behind Greekmaster, of course, our championship leader. If you guys have just joined, missed the start of the race, end of lap number 1, Greekmaster caught up with a couple other drivers coming around the final corner. I think it might have been Jared or Tim at Marduk that he had contact contact with, spun him into a wall, damaged his front wing, forced to pit at the end of lap 2, elected for the hard compound tyre, hoping to get to the end of this race, and hoping to salvage some points in this race, because his championship rival, New Zealand Ryan, while he's currently showing 4th on the road, the 3 cars ahead all started on the mediums yet to pit, so Ryan is in a net race lead with a 5-second advantage over Jared, so it looks very likely, not guaranteed of course, that Ryan will take home 25 points in tonight's race. The gap between Greek and Ryan at 31 points. If Greek doesn't get any points at all, it's going to come all the way down to 6. So Greek really wants to fight hard, get back up into the points. We're going to have to keep an eye on him with the strategy he is going for. But things aren't looking fantastic for him right now. Older tyres, harder compound tyres, 11 seconds and outside the points. We're just going to have to wait and see what the top 3 who haven't pitted yet, what they do and where they end up re-emerging in this race.
I think they're actually going to be ahead of him there. The pit stops around here. It looks like it's costing around about 25 to 30 seconds here. So yeah, Greek is still probably going to come out behind these guys there. So not ideal for him. Yeah, let's hope you haven't quite jinxed Ryan there as well. I think so far this season we've not had a track record between the pair of us. We've certainly caused it more often than either of us would have liked to be. Now Ben is closing up to the rear of the Mercedes of DLC Jared once more here as they come out on to the hangar straight once more, using the ERS once again, bringing it. No, he doesn't bother to bring it up much. He only takes it up to 2, and like I said, he therefore just uses the slipstream, keeps the ERS, keeps the ERA usage nice and low, so we'll obviously have a little bit more to fight with towards the end of this race. But yeah, he's closing up just marginally to the back of Jared here in this race, and I'm sure Ferrari even would love to try and take a 1-2, but on the other hand, I'm sure Mercedes would love to try and spoil that party as well here, as one of the top guys, Trido, actually now dives into the pit lane as well here, and he'll come back out in the other Red Bull car. And Tree, to know if you got another nice view of the Red Bull mechanics, you know, going back behind the scenes there as well. Maybe that'll be like an after show where you do some work with them behind the scenes as well.
No, I didn't have any camera glitches, thankfully, this time. And it's interesting to see the strategies with the ERS. Of course, it's new to this game. The guys have had 9 proper league races, and I'm sure they've done, I know a few other guys like Ryan compete in other leagues. They do a lot of practice for these races, practice races with some of the other guys. They've had a lot of experience with this ERS now, and it's interesting to see how these guys do actually play the strategy, managing that battery through the race. It seems like a lot of them are quite content sitting in behind another driver and not actually, and using the slipstream and DRS as a chance to save a little bit of battery and wait to mount an attack a little bit later on. They're not perhaps battling and racing as hard as perhaps I expected. Like right now, Tim Marduk, he's only in at number 3 on the ERS. If he's going for a move, you'd definitely bump it up to 4. He's dropped it down to 2 into the braking zone, just trying to save a little bit of that battery, get it a little bit higher. That said, still has 62%, which seems fairly reasonable. If we jump forward to Jared, he has 84% battery, but he's currently running it on 0 through this tight and technical section to end out the lap, but bumps it all the way up into 5 down the straight when down into turn number 1, but back down to 2 through the corners. So they're definitely playing with that quite a lot, down to 0 in the braking zones. It's interesting to see how much they are actually fiddling with it, because I know from experience it's a bit of a pain sometimes to keep adjusting that while so many times throughout the lap while you are driving. And we haven't actually looked at Fens either. He also has a nice chunk of battery, 80% roughly there, but again, he's got the DRS slipstream. He's not trying to use too much battery, as Ben is now going for the move up the inside of Jared into Brooklyn's, but he's now got the outside for Luffield, and there's no way he's going to be able to do that. He tries to pull it back for a late apex, let's get my words out, and into the slipstream of Jared onto the old pit straight. Is he going to try up the inside? No, the outside as we head up to comps. This is going to be a very bold move, and the Ferrari driver thinks better of it, but Jared's line was compromised through there. This gives Ben a chance as we head into Maggots and Beckett's, and Ben swoops around the outside and up into 3rd place. A fantastic move on the Mercedes driver. It is not done yet, because now Jared has the slipstream and DRS out onto the hangar straight. Is he going to be close enough to make a move? As we have yellow flags in Sector 2 and Sector 3. That laggy person is out of the race. Where is that yellow flag? It looks like it's this section of the track. So even if Jared wanted to send a move up the inside there, he was unable to do it.
Yeah, just trying to look where that laggy person has actually been. I think it's out of the final corner. I'm not even too sure. I think the car might have disappeared by now, unless he's just sort of coasting around the circuit a bit. I'm not too sure what that was all about. I had a quick look at the penalties, actually, whilst this was all going on. Ryan, Ben, and Jared all have 1 warning. Fens has 1 penalty, and Warden has 2 penalties. So obviously, that should hopefully give you guys a little bit of info in terms of the longer part of this race. But I say about that, we're only 9 laps to go with this race. We're already 2/3 of the way through. Oh, how time flies in races around tracks like Silverstone, obviously with such high speed. But yeah, Jared is still all over the back of Tim Malik, and I'm sure he is hungry to try and get that second place back here. Ben is doing absolutely everything he possibly can to try and hold on to this place at the moment. He does appear to be building up a little bit of a gap, but look at that. Jared has got a full bar of battery, though. He has got absolutely everything that he needs in terms of deployment. So maybe, you know, he might save it up for a lap and then just wind up hot lap mode, overtake mode, absolutely everywhere around the circuit. And then maybe we will see if he can try and mount a challenge once more here. The gap up to about half a second here. Ben's is actually closer to Jared than Jared is to Ben at this stage of the lap here. But yeah, once again though, look at this. Jared wants ERS mode up into 4. He's going to have the DRS as well. Is he going to be able to make a move up the inside? No, he doesn't. He thinks better of it there, and he holds back for now here behind the Ferrari. So it goes to show, you know, that he can take a good half a second out of him down the hangar straight here. So that could be absolutely crucial in the dying stages of this race here. But at the front though, still Ryan holds firm and consistent. He's actually used up all of his ERS though, quite interesting to see. He was down to about 6% there as he came through turn 1, but he's holding on at the moment, comfortably doing absolutely everything he needs to. And I think the battle between Jared and Ben is certainly going to be the one that we want to stay on board with throughout the entirety of this stint. It's a couple of smaller battles going on further down the field, but I think this one... Oh, I say that, Quicksilver! I just got on board with him as he drops it out of the final corner into the wall there. Not too sure what that was all about. Unfortunate for him, he loses half of the front wing. He actually lets HO through. He's now a lap down to pretty much everyone, I think, in this race. So once again, not the ideal race for Quicksilver there, and he's going to have to pit in once again here. Only 3 laps on those soft tyres, so I think it's like his 4th or 5th pit stop of the day, so certainly not one to write home back for him.
Yeah, Quicksilver, he's had a mare of a season. 2 points finishes, then 6 consecutive DNFs, and then a points finish in Austria. His season's all over the place, and he's had an absolute shocker here at Silverstone. But let's bring our attention back to this battle for second place. I'm trying to work out what Jared is playing at here. He's up into overtake mode, DRS flap. Is he actually going to go for it? No, again, this lap, he drops down into 0 just towards the second half of that straight, just before the braking zone. He did the exact same thing on the last lap, as he's just sort of playing with the battery, working out what he needs to do to save it up, and how close he needs to be to mount an attack on Tim Malik. He's just sort of practicing, working it out, and saving it all, and waiting for a last lap move. Or do you think he's going to fight? The fact he's just dropping it back right at the end of the straight, when he's in a position, I'd say, to make a move, and electing not to, 2 laps in a row. He's playing a game, he's strategizing here with his batteries, using the next sort of 7 laps as practice to pull off the move, and nab that second place on the very last lap from Team Malik. What do you think, Matt?
I think what he's done at the moment is absolutely fantastic. What he's done is he's saved up all of this ERS. He's now using it all up so far on this lap. He's had it in hot lap. He's flicking it between hot lap and 0 ERS mode. So I think what he's done is he's actually made Ben use up a lot more energy than he would have liked. Quicksilver picks up a 5-second penalty in the background as well. But I think now he's trying to go all-out attack. It has not been a race for Quicksilver. But yeah, I think really what Jared is doing though is just saving up that battery and then forcing Ben into a little bit of a tight space here so that he has to use up all of his, so then Jared can have a bit more to attack with when it really matters. And this might be one of those opportunities. He makes a little bit of a mistake actually as he comes out onto the back straight here. But yeah, I think Ben, look at that, Ben's got about 30% of the ERS mode there. Jared, on the other hand, has about 70. That's just how much of an advantage he has in terms of that at the moment. So if he keeps trying to apply the pressure, Ben keeps having to do absolutely everything to defend. We could see, just a few laps to go. Jared have absolutely everything, and Ben have nothing to try and defend with.
Yeah, interesting strategy here from Jared, and it seems to be working. Every lap, he seems to be saving it up enough that by the time we get around to sort of Maggots and Beckett's, just before we come out onto the hangar straight, which is, of course, probably the best overtaking opportunity here up into Stowe, he's already pulled his battery back up to above 90% pretty much every time. He then pressures Ben down that straight. Ben drains it, but he doesn't seem to be building it back up that well. Tim Malik doesn't seem to have the battery management that Jared does right now. 38% as he is running down into Brooklands here, while Jared is up at 86% as we head into Luffield. It's going to be interesting to see, can Jared pretty much whittle Ben down to absolutely no battery and then pounce, or are we going to is he just going to wait till right at the end of the race and hope that Ben has absolutely no battery left? Because what I've seen over the last 3 laps, Jared's close enough to make a move if he wants to, but it doesn't seem like he wants to just yet.
Yeah, I think all he's trying to do at the moment is save it up, wait for the time to be right, and then he'll try and go for it here. But just a quick thank you as well on the side. WOR Blazer Guns coming in with the £3 donation. Thank you very much for supporting the AOR channel and all of the streams. But look at this, Jared once again getting very, very close here. And yeah, just 1/10 of a second as they got to the end of the back straight there.
Yeah, Jared is playing this race quite well, I'd say, because I think, again, that was another chance. If he wanted to pass Ben, he had every opportunity to right then. He got within half a meter of the back of that Mercedes. Not the Mercedes, he's the Mercedes, the back of the Ferrari, I should say, apologies. But he had turned his ERS down from 4 to 0 towards the end of that straight, and Quicksilver is now out of the race. That's his 7th DNF in 10 races. He's having an absolute mare this season. Things not going well for him. He started off with a 5th in Australia. He then had a 9th place finish in the next race. 6 DNFs, 9th in Austria, and another DNF here again as Ben locks up just a little bit. And talking about the battery, Ben is still in the 30%. Jared, here at Luffield, he's still over 90%, 94% on that battery. He's attacking Ben at the right places and also managed to save the battery up through the rest of the lap. And I don't think Ben's quite doing the same level of management. He's not quite as good at the management as Jared is, and we're going to have to wait and see down this hangar straight what tactics Jared actually plays out again. Is he going to go for a 5th lap in a row? He's going to pressure Ben, get right up close to him, and then back out of the move right at the last second. He's in overtail, hot lap mode even, number 5. DRS flap open in the slipstream of the Ferrari, down the hangar straight, into 0 on the ERS. He's turned it off, right up behind the Ferrari, and he elects not to make that move. He still has 80%. Ben's now under 30% into 29% on his battery. Very interesting tactics going on in this British Grand Prix, and I think Jared is setting this up for a last lap move, whittling Ben's battery down to there's no defense left, waiting till he can attack at a point where Ben just can't retaliate and take that 2nd position.
Yeah, this is fantastically executed by Jared so far, but he has got to remember he's still got Fens half a second back that has just watched this all unfold in front of him here. He's about middle between these two guys in terms of battery as well. But what Jared probably needs to do, make the move work. He's actually lost a little bit of time there coming through the first sector, but he needs to make the move with a couple of laps spare and then stretch out that advantage with all the battery that he has. Whack it up into 5 and then just floor it away, and then hope that, you know, Ben maybe even gets under pressure by Fens as well here. Yeah, Jared, time is running out though. He's only got 4 laps to go of this race, so he does certainly need to try and go for it sooner rather than later. He's saying about how obviously he should leave it to the very last lap, and as much as I think we'd love to see that,
I think, actually.
Penultimate lap, yeah, probably would be a little bit better, but honestly, I'd say he needs to go for it as soon as possible. Fens picks himself up his 2nd 3-second time penalty of the race, so unless something catastrophic happens, it doesn't really look like he's going to be able to try and actually be, you know, when the final results come through, hassling these guys at the end here. But look at this, Jared once more. Well, Ben, was that a little bit of weaving I saw? Maybe just a little bit
I
of
wouldn't think too
changing
much of that.
of direction. I think, yeah, I don't think too much will be said from that one. But yeah, Ben is still doing absolutely everything he needs to hold on to this position. And Jared is starting to look at, well, not too little too late here, but it's looking at almost less and less at the moment. Like every lap he's a little bit further behind as he gets to the end of that straight. I'm not too sure what that is all about, but you just see MT closes up then in towards turn 3 and turn 4, and I think he really needs to try and stick all over the back of Ben on this lap to really try and go for the move as soon as possible here.
Yeah, I don't think he can get much closer to the back of that Ferrari through that loop section. Is out onto the Wellington straight. Ben goes to the inside to defend Jared. It doesn't really think to go for a move again, just playing this strategy of sitting in behind the Ferrari. And like I said, I've been talking about a final lap move, but what Matt was saying, it makes sense for a penultimate lap move. He has somewhat like 90% battery. 100% will last you at least a lap. If he goes to the move at Stowe, he's going to get overtake mode for probably 3/4 of the last lap if he does it on the penultimate lap, and that'll be enough to stretch away and hold on to that position. But I don't think he's going to do it this lap. We're going to see the exact same thing where he gets right in behind that Ferrari and just chooses not to make the overtake, as we have a yellow flag somewhere. Not too sure what that is for, but let's just watch Jared. There's a bit of weaving from Ben trying to defend the inside line. Mercedes trying to follow in that slipstream, and again he's in zero by the time we get to the braking zone of Stowe, within probably a car length of the Ferrari, but not electing to make that move. But time is running down. This is going to be interesting to see how it does unfold right at the end, as Ben's struggling through this final complex of corners. And I've been watching Ben's battery over the last few laps. He seems to be doing an okay job managing it. He's just in a tricky position where he doesn't have that much battery left. The percentage hasn't really changed much over the course of this race. It stayed sort of roughly in the same, or not, over this stint, these last few laps when this battle's been going on. It stayed in that same sort of range, so he's actually doing an okay job managing it, but he's just got caught into an unlucky position where he doesn't have that much battery left. And again, Jared hassling that Ferrari, making himself look really big in Ben's mirrors, but not making a move.
Yeah, I reckon this is the lap Jared goes for it. Goes for it here. I reckon he's close enough now. He hasn't got too much left in this race. Ben is starting to struggle, as we said, with the battery. He is managing it, but only around sort of 30-40% level. This is the lap Jared needs to absolutely try to commit. The gap is about 3.5 tenths of a second here. He needs to try and get a good run through this complex of corners here. Is he going to be able to get a little bit closer now? I tend to drop it down into 4th gear to try and get the better run, but I think he's made a bit of a mistake. He's made me look a little bit silly here. But Ben, once again, tried to defend. Which way is he going to go this time around? A little bit of a connection. Oh, Jared gets very close to her. I'm not too sure if that was the same on their screens then. Maybe that was why he bailed out and didn't, go along with what I said there. But yeah, unfortunate for Jared. But 2 laps to go now of this race. I thought he was going to do it this lap, mate. Well, clearly not so far. When is he going to go for it? Time is running out here, Jared. You need to try and make this move if you want to spoil Ferrari's 1-2 party here. Just a little bit of an update on Greekmaster as well. He's currently 4 seconds off the points, and I imagine he is taking time out of Neon Tridome as well here. So maybe 1 point is still on the cards in today's race here. But yeah, Jared, Ben is doing everything he needs to at the moment. Jared, in many ways, is probably saving up too much battery at this point. He's not going to be able to get through all 100% with 2 laps to go, because obviously you do get some regen through the corners. So yeah, I'm not too sure. Jared, he probably needs to just leave it in 5 and 4 throughout this next lap and a half here and just absolutely go for it. He's certainly, yeah, he's put it up to 5 now, but he doesn't need to bring it any lower than 4. He's got absolutely everything at his disposal here. He's going to try and get a little bit closer. Personally, I'd say drop it into 4 once you get into 7th gear there. He gets a fantastic run through the old turn 1 here. Rain actually has jumped Master Berserkers. Master Berserker, there's a battle going on between these two as well here. I think Master Berserker is going to hold on to the place for now, but is Jared? Yeah, he's certainly so close now onto the back straight once more. Is he going to be able to make it move? This is certainly the lap. He's going to go for it up the inside of Tiamat Marduk. Ben has got nothing to defend with there. He's all the way down to about 15% battery. He's going to try and go for the switchback move though. Is he going to be able to make it work side by side down in towards the final screen? No, he cannot. Jared does hold on to the place, and now look at that, Ben. Less than 30% ERS usage, but he makes a mistake. Jared runs deep through the final couple of corners here, side by side on towards the final lap. Jared holds on for now, but Ben has got absolutely nothing in the ERS mode here. He has to defend from fens going in towards turn 1 here. Now Jared, he's still leaving it in 0, just seeking in 5 and run away, man. What you playing at? I'm not too sure what his master strategy is with that one. You've got 1 lap to go of this race. Just absolutely go for it here. Oh, he's low on fuel, is he? Yeah, that won't be helping his case either there. So yeah, he's clearly, well, fuel unfortunately is something that we can't monitor anymore on F1 2018, so we don't actually know how bad that situation is. Ryan is also running very low on, everyone's running very low on fuel apart from Fens, so clearly that Williams car a little bit better on the economy side of thing as well here. Yeah, Jared, he's now got a 3/10 gap on Tiamat Marduk. Are we going to see once again Ben try and go for a last lap move? We saw it last season. He tried to go for it right in the dying stages of the race. Is he going to try and go for it once more here? The gap is about 3/10 of a second. He needs to nail it through here, and I don't think he's done so. He makes a bit of a mistake on the way through there in the dirt here. Jared runs a little bit deep on the exit, but the gap's 7/10 of a second. I think that's too far back for Ben to really go for anything that is an absolute dive bomb-esque. Brian, though, is going to come through the final couple of corners to win the British Grand Prix here. Is Ben going to be able to get close enough, though? The gap's still 0.4 of a second. He's going to absolutely send it. No, he doesn't. He thinks better of it. Sensible decision there. Ryan comes through a fantastic race victory. His first race win, actually, since the Chinese Grand Prix there. Fantastic job by him. Jared comes through for P2. Ben in P3. Fends with those penalties all the way down in P4 there. And Warden P5 at the end of the day there. That was intense right the way through. I think that's safe to say.
Yeah, that was an intense race, a great battle between Jared and Tim Marduk. There wasn't that much on-track fighting, but the tactics between them were very, very interesting to watch, and Jared, I think, played that race to perfection. I think he probably could have pushed it a little bit more in that last lap with the ERS. He was going into zero through the loop section, the new section of the circuit. Not too sure he did that in that last lap when he had the battery just to run away, and he possibly left him a bit vulnerable to Ben through Maggots and Beckett's, but down the hangar straight, but Ben made mistakes through Maggots and Beckett's. But nonetheless, New Zealand Ryan with a dominating drive here at Silverstone, taking the win by about 6 seconds over Jared and Tim Marduk. A double podium for Ferrari, not a 1-2, but a double podium with Williams in 4th and outside of the points. So they're going to get a lot of points back in not only the drivers for New Zealand Ryan, but also the constructors.
Yeah, I think that was absolutely crucial here in the British Grand Prix as well. They're not the ideal race for Greek Master there. Well, this will be the final race before the Christmas break, so it's certainly going to get very, very intense through the second half of this season as well, obviously as well. 6 points. Sorry, no, my maths didn't fail me. 6 points.
Yes, 6
now
points.
The gap at the top with half a season to go. It is certainly getting very, very tight between the top two in this championship.
So there we go, New Zealand Ryan, Jared, Tim Marduk on the podiums. Quickly through the rest of the points, Fens, Warner, Marsberg, Presbyterian, Greek Master, Rain, and Neon Treedome. Just got that in before it disappeared off my screen. And one thing you'll notice from those point finishes, our championship leader, Greek Master 99, was not among them. He finished this race in 11th place at the end of lap number 1, coming through the final corner. There was contact with Jared, spun the Williams into the wall, damaged his front wing, forced pit at the end of the second lap for hard tyres, fixed his front wing, and then went to the end, but unfortunately was not able to get back into the points. And his main championship rival, New Zealand Ryan, our reigning champion, won the race. The gap was 31 points, and like Matt just said, it is now only 6. And that also brings Greek's amazing run of points finishes and podiums to an end. Before this race, 9 races, 8 podiums, and the other result was a 4th place. But now, for the first time, he misses out on a podium and a top 4, and also on points. And that opens this championship right up. It is super close between Greek and New Zealand Ryan now heading into the next round of the championship.
I don't know if this is a bit of a weird bug, but I've still got the results screen currently up. I haven't actually gone back to the lobby yet, and according to this, Greek Master is actually finished in P8. So he has been able to score points there. So he said about how his streak is over. I'm not too sure if it's just on my screen or not, but yeah, Greek has actually scored 4 points in this race. So the point streak lives on for Greek Master there, although the same can be said for New Zealand Ryan as well in this championship. So yeah, the gap will actually be 10 points as we head into the second half of the season, unless, as I said, it's a difference in penalties on different people's screens. Obviously, people can try to get them removed as well.
Yeah, I think I read through the results so quickly because I had one eye on the timer. Greek crossed the line in 11th on the track, and that's what I had in my head, and I don't think I realized he was in P8. A few drivers in front did pick up time penalties, my bad on that. He picks up 4 points, so that means the gap's around 10 points actually, but still a lot closer than it was heading into this race. 31 points down to 10. It makes this championship a whole lot closer than it was before.
Yeah, that will certainly be interesting to see in the second half of the season. But as I touched upon just a minute ago, this will be the final race before we head out for a Christmas break. We will be back ready for Germany, obviously, a returning track on the Formula 1 calendar once more next month. And I must say, from races I've done in the past, that track it has a lot of action overall, obviously, with a huge straights as well here. So hopefully, if you guys are new to the AOR channel, you get yourself subscribed for more content from us, obviously, as we come back from the Christmas break. There will probably be, we've got a few different things planned over the Christmas break as well, obviously, with the Classic Christmas Cup as well. If you're not signed up for that, make sure you get yourself done so as well. There's a couple of other things going around on the AOR channel, but I think that is it from me. Any final words, Lachlan?
Quickly, I think we should just talk about driver of the day in today's race. For me, it's between Jared and Ryan. You can't fault Ryan's race. He ran away, dominating victory, pretty much lights the flag after pole position. The only laps he didn't lead were through the pit stop phase with the alternate strategy runners ahead of him. But also Jared, he played that race to perfection with the strategy with that ERS. He timed his move well, got it done cleanly on Ben, and held on to that second place. I'm not too sure which way to go. Like, you can't fault Ryan's race, and Jared played the strategy really nice in that battle. What do you think?
I'm going to go completely different and say Master Berserk up 8 places in that race at the end. Did a fantastic job throughout that race. Ryan and Jared are both very, very close as well, but I think he was able to carve his way through the field there, and a fantastic job at the end of the day to pick up 8 points starting from second last on the grid.
I didn't actually see that. That's actually quite impressive. I think I was so preoccupied with that battle at the front of the field. It's great to see a podium battle. I guess we didn't give the rest of the field enough attention that we normally would in one of the streams. So great job by AOR as well. But I think I'd give my driver of the day to Jared. He played the long game in that race. He played it smart, and it paid off for him. And now I think it's a 2-week break over Christmas and New Year, maybe 3, and then we're back in early January for the German Grand Prix, I do believe.
Yeah, we are 3-week break, because if it was 6th of January 3-week break, I don't fancy commentating on, I think, well, just for New Year's as well. Yeah, so we'll be back on the 6th of January 3 weeks from now. Obviously, get it in your calendars. As I said, there'll be plenty of content still coming from the AOR channel, even throughout the rest of today. Obviously, we've got the European streams and then the American streams starting in the early hours of tomorrow morning. Obviously, for you UK people, it's actually probably quite a nice time for the Australians as well here, nice and early in the morning,
well,
like
if
sort
you're
of
not
9,
at work,
10 a.m. Yeah, obviously, if I'm not mistaken as well. Yeah, I think that is it from us. Once again, thank you all for the support on the stream. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed, and we will hopefully see you next time for Germany.
Yes, we'll see you next time. Have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Goodbye.